Well, brethren, I hope you enjoyed that video. You know, the same situation goes on in the United States of America. I remember when Timothy Geithner was, I think he was the Secretary of the Treasury under President Obama, he owed over $1 million in taxes to the United States government. I would just like to say this, that, well, first of all, the world today is ruled by oligarchs, these very wealthy people that have high offices in multinational corporations that are so powerful that they control the governments, even the elected governments. But there is one issue, one comment that I wanted to make, and I tell you all the time, I'm no expert on any of this. It's true that it's the American middle class that's being taxed to death, and these billionaires very frequently do not pay taxes. But when President Trump wanted to pass his tax bill, which gave tax breaks to corporations, there is a difference between these multinational corporations that are hiding all of this money in these tax havens and the corporations that are doing business on American soil that received a tax break, which enabled them to invest that money in hiring new employees or increasing their business on United States soil. I can't explain it to you any better than that. I can only tell you that since President Bush passed his tax bill, which the Democrats were screaming was giving tax breaks to the rich, I understand that he's increased, there has never been so many jobs. I think I read that somewhere. Never in the history of America has there been so many jobs available, such a radical decrease in the unemployment rate, and so many corporations moving back to America, building buildings here, hiring thousands of American work people. So apparently there is a difference between the criminal, although it's the spiritually criminal activity, where these multinational corporations don't pay taxes. They've made it legal as far as the laws of the land go, but it's spiritually illegal. The law doesn't appreciate it. So there's a difference between that financial crime and the president's tax breaks, which involve, it has to do with a philosophy of finance that says you have to lower the taxes of corporations so that they hire people, so that they expand their business and do business here in America. President Obama and the previous administrations had the exact opposite financial philosophy, which resulted in so many corporations leaving America, leaving a very high unemployment rate. Many Americans lost their jobs as multinational corporations moved overseas. So, on the one hand, we're angry and protesting the laws that make it possible for these multinational corporations to hide so much money in tax shelters and frequently not pay taxes. We have to separate that truth from another financial truth, that if you make doing business palatable in this country, it will attract corporations that would otherwise go elsewhere, who will hire employees and do business here. I cannot explain it any better than that. But we must be very careful about the manipulation from ungodly forces that lie to the people who are the voters, that would cause them to tell them deliberate lies that would cause the voters to vote in a particular way because they misunderstand the truth. So the situation that we have today is that you have to find out from God who you should believe, because we have two completely different philosophies in this country today on almost every issue. Right now the big issue is the border wall. You have to find out from God who you should listen to and who you should believe, because there are people lying to manipulate you to vote for them when you think that you understand the ethics of the situation, but you do not understand the ethics of the situation. The other point that the Lord is really pressing me to tell you, I mentioned it before, and it's sort of a radical thing for me to say, but I'm going to say it to all of you who listen to me. the same spirit that operates in multinational corporations that results in them not paying any taxes, and they tax the local taxpayer, the American taxpayer, paying a great deal of money in taxes. That same spirit operates on the level in this country with laws that can benefit the middle class. And those laws have to do, I don't know how much of this you understood. If you understood some of it, it was worthwhile. There was a lot of talk about trusts. The whole point of a trust is that nobody knows who owns the trust. You put your money in, these corporations put their money in a trust, and they appoint a trustee. And nobody knows who was who. That was one of the major points of this video, and it's true for around the whole world. It's true here in America too, that we don't, you'll see a corporate name, you don't know who owns what, you don't know who's in control, you don't know who the people are that are influencing the policies of these corporations. Well, there are trusts available for local people, whether for average middle class people, that have some savings in their lifetime, and they want to pass that savings on to their children. This, it's perfectly legal. You put your money in a trust, and you appoint your daughter or your son as the trustee, and within 5 years, I think they may have increased the time. It used to be 5 years, maybe it's 10 years. However many years it is, after that amount of time passes by, it's technically not your money. Well, it is from the onset. It's not your money, but for legal purposes, okay, it's no longer your money. So if you're on in years and you have to go, and God forbid you're sick and you have to go into a home, you have very little money because all of your money is in a trust. So if God forbid you're sick, and you have to go on you're eligible to go on Medicaid and have the state pay for your care, while your children have the benefit of all of your money. Now, and I want to tell you that, in my opinion, this is immoral. The Lord wants me to tell you that this is immoral. And you're doing the same exact thing as the multinational corporations are doing. Well, Sheila, you're saying everybody does it. It's a big business. If you're a senior citizen, go get yourself a lawyer, go get yourself an elder care lawyer and get a trust and put all of your money in the trust. And then once the time limit, there's a legal time limit, okay? It used to be 5 years, maybe it's 10 years now. The money technically cannot be used. You can have $5 million in that trust, and if all that you have in your bank account is $1,000 or $2,000, and you have to go into a home, okay, the state will pay for you while your children have the benefit of all of that money. So what I'm telling you right now is radical, because just about every middle-class person with any kind of money is doing that today. That's what you do. You protect the money for your children, but what's the truth is that the taxpayers of the state are paying for you. And the taxpayers of the nation are paying for you when the state goes to the federal government for money. I'm not telling you what to do, brethren, but you need to know the truth. You need to know the truth, and you need to pray to the Lord about it, about what He wants you to do. I'm telling you that it is the same spirit that is on these multinational corporations. Yeah. So I'm not telling you what to do, but you need to know the truth about what you're doing. You need to wake up and stop being one of these people, which is the majority of people, that doesn't think. You just hear, oh, let's do it. Oh, it's a way to save money, let's do it. Oh, let's do it. You are now becoming, you are a son of God, you're becoming, you are subjecting yourself to instruction that is supposed to be developing the morality of God in you in the hopes of entering into longevity. So that means everything that has to do with anything, but right now we're talking about money, anything that has to do with money, you have to really check with God to find out what the morality of it is. Well, Sheila, if I spent all of my money, if I got sick and I spent all of my money in the hospital or an old age home, I worked all my life and I won't have anything to leave to my children. Well, brethren, you worked all your life to have money to take care of you, to take care of yourself. How do you justify letting the state support you so that your children can inherit your money? That's not rational thinking, brethren. And we're supposed to be trusting God to keep us healthy and to make a way for us in this world to meet our every need. Of course, we have to hear from Him what He wants us to do, how He wants us to do, what He wants us to do. But brethren, now that you've heard it, you're responsible for the information. Again, I'm not telling you what to do. What I just told you is a big thing. You know, this is a stumbling block that many Christians will not be able to step over. And I'm not telling you anything. I'm asking you a question. Do you think you would be eligible for longevity stealing money from the state? Now, if you don't need money from the state, if you've already established a trust and your money is already in a trust and you're supporting yourself, that's fine. You know? The question is, God forbid you should need long-term care and the state is paying for it for you while your children benefit from your money. That is something you would really have to put before the Lord. I'm telling you this so that you can pray about it. I'm telling you about this because I'm giving you an opportunity to be convicted by it. Don't do anything out of fear. You have to have the conviction in your heart. Is this right? Do you really think it's right? Is it okay to do it because the multinational corporations do it? Well, I think there are a couple of people in this ministry that are not happy to hear me saying this. Again, I'm not telling you what to do. You need to get your heart right. You need to take a stand, brethren. You need to take a moral stand. Don't do anything. You need to come to a conclusion about whether what you're already engaged in, maybe your husband already set it up for you. You need to come to a conclusion as to whether or not this is moral. Whether or not this practice, which is just about every senior citizen does it in the country today. You need to come to a conclusion in your own mind as to whether or not this behavior, this activity which is legal, rises to the morality of God. You need to come to a decision in your mind. Then after you come to a decision in your mind, you ask the Lord what He wants you to do about it, if anything. But don't do anything without first making your decision and finding out what's in your own heart. What is in your heart? Has your heart risen to the moral standing of God in this situation? Do you believe that it's right? Maybe you'll be convicted that it's wrong, but you won't be willing to give it up. Just be honest, one step at a time. Determine whether or not it's right. Okay, then determine whether or not, if you have a trust like that, whether or not you're willing to give it up. And then put the whole thing before the Lord. He may not want you to. I don't know what He wants you to. But I just put a real tough situation in front of you, and you need to find out those two questions. Okay? Do you believe it's right? Let's say you're involved in it. Do you believe it's right? Okay. And if the Lord were to tell you to give it up, would you be willing to do it? Don't do anything. Am I making this clear? Mm-hmm. These are two questions you have to ask yourself. And you have to be honest with yourself and honest with the Lord. And then you pray about it. So, He told me to tell you that. I know I've mentioned it previously. I've just gone over it lightly. So a couple of you are in a moral crisis right now. Don't jump ahead of the game, one thing at a time. One issue at a time. Don't be running around saying, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Don't do that. You need to find out in your own heart in your own morality, do you think it's right what you're doing? What your husband has set up for you? Do you think it's right? And if the Lord should tell you to give it up, would you be willing to do it? And if the answer is no, you have to be honest. There are things that I don't think I could give up right now if he asked me to do it. Financially, okay, and I've told you this before. I've heard that there's one minister who the Lord kept telling him to give his house away, and every time he got a bigger and a better house. I don't think I'm capable of giving my condominium away at this point. Because if I made a mistake and it wasn't God, I don't have the money to do anything else. I really don't think I'm capable of doing it at this time. So the Lord will never ask you to do more than you can bear. But he's developing us. Brethren, do you remember what Jesus said to his disciples? He said it, I think he said it to Peter. Peter said, I would never renounce you, Lord. I would never betray you. And Jesus said, well, Peter, by the time the cock crows, you will denounce me 3 times. Jesus was crucified. He was resurrected. And we read in the scripture, Peter was denying Jesus. I didn't know that man. Oh, you were amongst him. You were one of his. Oh, no, I never even knew that man. And the cock crew 3 times. But after that exposure of the what is the right word? After that exposure of the inadequacy of the morality of Peter, okay? After that, Jesus came to him in the Spirit. Okay? He had a spiritual experience with the resurrected Christ. And Peter was I think he was crucified upside down. Not that you're going to be crucified upside down, but what I'm telling you is that after he found out the truth about himself, he said, I would never betray you. But when he was confronted with an issue that threatened him, he betrayed the Lord. But that recognition, that acknowledgement of who he really was, the fallen first Adam. Okay. On top of that, Jesus built a degree of morality that raised him up to apostleship and great works of raising the dead and everything else that he did. So don't go misunderstanding me, and don't do anything financially until you've completed the first 2 steps. And maybe the Lord won't ask you to do it. Maybe he will not ask you to do it. But take this opportunity to exercise your moral muscles and see if you can face this issue honestly. Because I would expect, I think there's at least 2 of you that I know of in the ministry, maybe more, that are in this position. See if you can get so far as to say, I believe it's wrong, but I cannot bring myself to give it up. But I know that it's wrong. See if you can get that far. Okay. Don't go doing anything stupid, and do not be hysterical. Okay? Okay. God bless you. If you would like to stay on for the comments, stay around for the comments. God bless you. Oh, one more thing, by the way. Did you shut it off already? Okay. What's really interesting is that in Ezekiel 39, which we will be doing Sunday, Lord willing, this issue actually rises. That's why you have exhibits today from Ezekiel 30, from the studies in Ezekiel 39, where the Lord actually rebukes the Russian. A lot of these oligarchs are Russian. I was shocked. He rebukes the Russian oligarchs. And I said to the Lord, why are you rebuking the Russian oligarchs? What about the rest of them? And the only answer that I have so far is that we're dealing with Japheth, we're dealing with the Christian people that there is a great likelihood may have been born with the root of Israel. So the Lord just answered the question for me right now. We're being told that the souls of Israel are incarnating today. They're incarnating in Japheth. And apparently there are some of these oligarchs have the root of Israel. And it was that spiritual power of that root misused that has made them so wealthy. And the Lord is rebuking them. Isn't that interesting? So, brethren, God bless you. Stay on for the comments if you would like. Otherwise, I will see you online on Sunday. God bless you.